Last chapter we studied about pure substances, and we said elements are the pure substance that cannot be broken down into a simpler substance. If you look in the periodic table, you will see that the elements um, are can be represented or identified by a one or two letter symbol. For example, hydrogen H, lithium Li, boron B, carbon C, oxygen O, CO for ball. So if it is only one letter, then it has to be in uppercase. And if there are two letters, then the first has to be in uppercase and the second one has to be in lowercase. For example, carbon is C, cobalt is CO. C has to be uppercase and O has to be lowercase. If you're going to end up putting both of them uppercase, then it will become a compound, and this compound, this molecule is known as carbon monoxide. Now, elements can be classified as metals, non-metals, or metalloids. So, in the given periodic table, if you look at the one here, all the green ones are metals. So all these green ones are metals. The blue here, they are, or including this and this one here, they are non-metals. And here the yellow or the orange color ones are metalloids. As we can see, the metals are on the left side of the periodic table, and metals are solid except one, which is mercury. Mercury is a liquid. Non-metals are on the right side of the periodic table except one, which is hydrogen. The hydrogen is on the left side. Non-metals are liquid or gaseous at room temperature. There is one non-metal, um, bromine, here, here, right here, bromine, that is a liquid. Um, so basically, we can see that mercury and bromine are the two elements in the periodic table that are liquid. Metalloids are in between, are placed in between metals and non-metals. Look here, they are here. The reason they are placed between metals and non-metals, because their properties are also between metals and non-metals. For example, metals are shiny, non-metals do not have a shiny appearance, and metalloids is kind of in between, like gray color. Metals are solid at room temperature, except mercury, which is a liquid. Non-metals non-metals like sulfur and carbon, they are solids at room temperature. Bromine is a liquid, and nitrogen, oxygen, and 9 other elements are gases. Look at these metalloids here. So there are 7 elements that are categorized as metalloids: boron, boron B, silicon Si, germanium Ge, arsenic As, antimony Sb, tellurium Te, and astatine At. 4 non-metals: oxygen, carbon, hydrogen, and nitrogen. They comprise 96% of the mass of the human body and are also known as building block of the elements. um, so let's go to the next topic. Another classification, your periodic table here, and this here, you can also classify the different elements as main group elements, transition elements, or the inner transition elements. So here, this before I go further into this, let me introduce a few more things. These vertical columns here, these vertical columns, they are known as groups, and horizontal rows here are known as periods. These two big columns here and these big columns here, they are known as main group elements. In between here, these short columns here, they are known as transition elements or transition metals, and these two separated rows are known as inner transition elements. So if you look here, main group elements, it says 1A to 8A. This is known as first A group, second A group, third A group. So first A, second A, third A group, fourth A, fifth A group, I think third. This is carbon one is fourth, nitrogen one is fifth A, oxygen is sixth A group, fluorine group is the seventh A group, and the last one is eighth A group. So let me explain this, the group thing one more time. So these vertical columns are known as groups, and we said from 1A, 1A, 2A, 3A, 4th A, 5A, 6th A, 7th A, and 8th A groups are known as main group elements. In between these are transition elements, and here these two are inner transition elements. These are two separate rows. The first one is known as lanthanide and the second one is known as actinide. Some of the groups have particular specific names. For example, group 1A, the first column, they are also known as alkali metals. Second A group, known as alkaline earth metals. Seventh A group, fluorine, fluorine, bromine, iodine, they are known as halogens. And the last group, known as noble gases or inert gases or rare gases. So these main group elements here, we said these two big columns and these two big columns and these which are main group elements. These two rows here on this side, left side, they are also known as S block elements. On this side, all of these, they are known as P block elements, and you will understand soon why SP, why these letters. There is only one on this side, is helium, that's still known as S block, and the ones here in the middle, they are known as D block elements, and these two are also known as F block elements. So based on this, you have to practice doing these questions. Um, for example, hydrogen. What's the symbol of hydrogen? H. Is it a metal, non-metal, or metalloid? Hydrogen, if you see, even if it is on the left side, it's still a non-metal. See, it is shaded as blue. So for non-metal, you can write down Nm. Is it sp, d, or f block? S. Remember, these two big column elements are S block elements. Is it main group, transition, inner transition? It is main group because S and P block elements, S and P block elements are known as main group elements. Main group. And is there any particular group name for this element? Even though it is in the first state group, and first state group elements are known as alkali metals, but we cannot still put this as an alkali metals because it's not a metal. Let's look at the next one, helium. So if you look at helium here, this one, symbol is He. Is it metal, non-metal, metalloid, non-metal? SPDF. This is the only one on this side that is still S. Main group, main group. Any particular group name? Yes, the group 8 elements are also known as noble gases. So I'm going to pick one more, and then you can do the rest, and I will post the answers on Canvas. For example, chlorine. Symbol is Cl. Here is chlorine. It's a non-metal. It's a P block element because these are P blocks. Is it main group, transition, inner transition, main group? And any particular name? Yes, this is a 7th A group, and 7th A groups are known as halogens. Let me take one more because all the examples that I took, they ended up coming as main group elements. So I should have put something else. Let's cross out. Okay, here, this is a good one, chromium. Chromium is here. So what is that? It's a D block element. It's a metal because it's green in color. D block elements are also known as transition elements. And is there any particular group name for that? No. So chromium here, Cr, metal, D block, transition, and any particular group name? No, just write down not any. And again, I will post the answers for this on Canvas. Now, the structure of the atom. Remember what elements are made up of. Elements they are made up of same type of atoms. So all matter, basically they are composed of basic building blocks called atoms. And what are these atoms made up of? They are made up of electrons, protons, and neutrons. The central part of the atom, is known as nucleus. And what's in the nucleus? This is the nucleus. And what's in the nucleus? Protons and neutrons. Protons are positively charged and neutrons have no charge. Then where are electrons? The electrons are revolving around the nucleus in different energy levels, which are known as principal energy levels. This is the first energy level, second energy level, third energy level, and fourth energy level. Now, these two terms, make sure you memorize them. Atomic number, which is represented by the letter Z, is known as the number of protons in an atom, and mass number, which is denoted by letter A, is the number of protons plus number of neutrons. So I'm going back to the last slide, and let's erase this table, and let me make it bigger here. So if you look, it's not very clear, but if you look, there are two numbers. For example, sodium here, it is the number on the top that is written, it is the atomic number, which is the number of protons, and here this number is around 22.9, which is 23. This is not the mass number, it is the atomic mass. So atomic mass and mass number are two different things, and there I have posted a very short video on how to find the atomic mass on Canvas. So for example, here let's talk about take some examples. For example, sodium. Sodium atomic number is 11 and mass number is 23. So how many protons, electrons and neutrons does an atom of sodium has? So you have to find number of protons, electrons and neutrons. So number of protons is the atomic number. So an atom of sodium has 11 protons. Since an atom is neutral, that means the number of protons are equal to the number of electrons. So an atom of sodium is going to have 11 electrons. And how many neutrons are there? So if mass number, which is the number of protons and neutrons, is 23, and out of 23, if 11 are protons, then how many will be the number of neutrons? You have to do 23 minus 11, which is 12. So this gives you the idea how to find out the protons, electrons and neutrons from the atomic number. If let's say this is the nucleus of a cell, and here, and the question is how many protons and neutrons are there. So you just count the number of positive signs. There are 4. So there are 4 protons, and these circles basically represent the neutrons, no charge. So there are 4 neutrons. Let's talk about electrons. As we discussed before, that this is, let's say this is the nucleus, and where are the electrons? Electrons are revolving around nucleus in different energy levels, which are known as principal energy levels or principal energy shells. The shell closest to the nucleus is the first energy level, second energy level, and third energy level. Electrons love to stay close to the nucleus. Why? Because nucleus has protons, positive charge, electrons are negatively charged, so opposites attract. So they love to stay close to the lower energy level, but if the lower energy level is full, then they have to go to the higher energy level. So the first energy level, so let's write down here energy levels or shells is the same thing, energy levels or energy shells. So let's say write down shells. First shell, this is the second shell, third shell, fourth shell, and so on. These shells are further subdivided into sublevels or subshells. For example, the first shell or the first energy level is further subdivided into one subshell, and its name is 1s. The second shell is divided into two subshells, and their names are, and you denote them by 2s and 2p. Third shell has three subshells, and they are denoted by 3s, 3p, 3d. Fourth energy level, how many subshells? Four subshells, 4s, 4p, 4d, and 4f, and so on. Here I'm going to write down just like this. Now, so where are electrons? Electrons are in these subshells. Now here's the thing, these subshells are further divided into orbitals. If you have an s subshell, then it is made up of only one orbital, and in one orbital you can put maximum 2 electrons. If it is a p subshell, then p subshell has 3 orbitals, and in each orbital you can put 2 electrons. That means in the p subshell you can put total 6 electrons. When we talk about the d subshell has 5 orbitals. Each orbital can have 2 electrons. 2 times 5 is, so in a d subshell you can put total 10 electrons. Let me write down F here. F subshell is made up of 7 orbitals. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. 7 orbitals. Each orbital, remember when the word is orbital, an orbital can have only 2 electrons. So 2 electrons here, 2 here, 2 here, and total 14 electrons. So then that means when you are filling the electrons in these subshells, then you fill the lower energy level first, followed by the higher energy level. Now, we just cannot say that if the number 1 is here, 1 is lower in energy than 2. Sometimes the orientation of the orbital is in such a way that it has the lower energy as opposed to the other one. What does that mean? For example, let's draw a line here. Let's take this color. When you're filling the electrons love to go in the 1s orbital first, because that is lowest in energy. Once 1s is filled, and how many electrons you can put in 1s? Remember, s is made up of only one orbital, and in one orbital you can put only 2 electrons. So if you see the letter s, means you can put only 2 electrons. Once this 1s is full, then you go to the second one, 2s. Follow the arrow. Once 2s is full, how many you can put in 2s? 2 electron, because it is s. Then you fill 2p followed by 3s. How many electrons you can put in p subshell? Total 6, because p subshell is made up of 3 orbitals. So p has total 6. Once 2p is full, then you go to 3s. Once 3s is full, draw the arrow, you go to 3p, and after 3p you go to 4s. Once 4s is full, then you go to 3d, then 4p, and 5s. Now that means we are filling 4s before 3d, even though 3 means third energy level and 4 means fourth energy level. Why is that? Because 3d has a little higher energy than 4s. And again, why is that? because D, in the D orbital, in the D sublevel, you can put a lot more electrons than S, and electrons repel, and that repulsion makes it higher in energy. So this diagram, the one I'm drawing here, this is also known as Aufbau's principle. And what Aufbau's principle is, that you fill the lower energy levels first, followed by the higher energy levels. All right, so let's do some examples. So we're going to write down the electronic configurations for these four elements. The first one is lithium. And if you look in the lithium, here is lithium. You need to know the atomic number of lithium, which is 3. Why atomic number? Because atomic number is the number of protons, and in an atom, number of protons are equal to number of electrons. So that means an atom of lithium has 3 electrons. That's the first thing you find out. Where will be these 3 electrons? So you're starting from here. This is S. Remember, S can have maximum 2, P can have 6, D can have 10, and F can have 14. So the 3 electrons, the first 2 electrons will go in the 1s. So we write down 1s2. And then how many electrons left? 1, because 3 minus 2 is 1. And where will that go? Then follow the next arrow, 2s. And there will be 1. So the electronic configuration of lithium is 1s2, 2s1. That means the 2 electrons in the first 1s sublevel and 1 electron in 2s. Let's do another example. Fluorine. Fluorine, if you will look, fluorine here, the atomic number is 9. Then what will be its electronic configuration? So follow again. Here how many can go? 1s2. What we are filling after 1s? 2s. How many can go in s? 2s2. Then what's the next one? 2p. In p we can put 6 electrons. But how many do we have? We have total 9. We are already done filling 4. So 9 minus 4 is 5. So we will say 1s2, 2s2, 2p5. Here is bromine, and bromine atomic number is 35. So let me show you how you're going to write it down. I'm just going to fill the electrons here. Let's say 1s2, 2s2, 2p6. After 2p, I'm filling 3s, 3s2. Then I'm filling 3p. 3p can have 6. Then 4s, 4s2. What I'm going to fill after 4s? Here, this one, 3d. And how many can go in d? 10. And then after 3d, you fill 4p. How many can go in p? 6, but I'm going to put 5. Why? Because the total I need 35. So 2 plus 2, 4 plus 6, 10. 12 plus 6, 18 plus 2, 20 plus 10, 30 plus 5, 35. So your electronic configuration here will be 1s2, 2s2, 2p6, 3s2, 3p6, 4s2, 3d10, 4p5. This is you're going to try yourself, and then I will post the answer on Canvas. Now, one thing that I really want to show you here is, look at lithium and look at the outermost. Its outermost energy level is 2, and it says, and it is S block and 1. So if you look here, this 2 means the second period, S means S, and 1 means the first one. So that means 2s1. Fluorine, 2p5. What does 2 means? Second period. P means you are in the P side. This is the P side. And fifth means 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Look at bromine. Outermost was 4p5. So first row, second row, third row, fourth row. In the fourth row, these are the P blocks, and we want the fifth one, 1 2 3 4 5. So basically you can easily find out the location, you can easily find where the element is if you know the electronic configuration. Now the next thing we're going to do is writing the abbreviated electronic configurations. We are basically interested to see how many electrons are present in the outermost shell, and those electrons are also known as valence electron. Let's look at the case of lithium and sodium, for example. Lithium atomic number is 3, so its electronic configuration is 1s2 2s1. Sodium atomic number is 11, so if you follow that Aufbau's chart, 1s2 2s2 2p6 3s1. Look at the outermost. This is the outermost here, second energy level. This is the outermost here, third energy level. Are there any similarities? Yes, they both are s block and they have one electron there. This electron is known as valence electron. Electrons present in the outermost shell. And these are the only electrons that an atom can lose, gain, can lose or share. So basically what we really want is we want to know how many electrons are in the outermost shell. So if you have this whole electronic configuration, then these are known as core electrons and these are known as valence electrons. So if the chemistry, any chemistry that is taking place is by these valence electrons, then why to write down all these? Why not to write down a abbreviated electronic configuration? And that's what we're going to do here. The abbreviated electronic configuration is also known as this noble gas configuration. So what we do in that case, we look at the noble gases, and again I want to make sure that you remember what the noble gases are. These are the noble gases. So let's look at the periodic table only and write down the electronic configurations. Hydrogen, this is the first period, is an s block and is the first column. So hydrogen electronic configuration is 1s1. Helium, first row 1, is still s block but it's the second one, so helium electronic configuration is 1s2. Now when we want to write down the electronic configuration of lithium, what I'm going to do, I'm going to pick the noble gas that's closer to lithium but before lithium. And which noble gas is before lithium and closer? That's helium. So what I'm going to write down? I'm going to write down noble gas in parentheses. And then I'm going to write down. So I'm here now. So I have to go from here to here. Here to here. So helium. Now second row. S block and is the first one. 2s1. For example, let's say I want to write down the electronic configuration for fluorine. What noble gas is present before fluorine? Helium. So you write down helium. Now you are here and you want to come here. How will you come here? Helium. Then you go here. 2s. How many are there? S block 2. 2p. Now we are entering p. 1 2 3 4 5. 2p5. Then let's say if I want to write down the electronic configuration for potassium. Potassium atomic number is 19. So what's the noble gas present before potassium but closer to potassium? That's this, argon. So put argon in the square bracket and you have to come from argon to potassium. Now you are in the fourth row, 4, this is S block and the first one, 4s1. What will be calcium? Argon, 4s2. Let's say we want to write down for scandium. For scandium also the noble gas will be argon. And then you are here, and from here you have to come here. So you argon, done. Then fourth row, 4s, how many? 2. And now you are entering the D block, but when you enter the D block, you put one less row number. That means if you are in the fourth row, 4 minus 1 is 3, you write down 3. 3D, and is the first one. So let's do, for example, let's do iron. Iron, the closest one is argon. Then we have to come from here to here. So we are done with argon. Now we have to cover this side. Argon, 4s2. Now we are entering D. In D, 3D. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 3D6. A few more examples. Let's go to bromine. And remember, you wrote down the full electronic configuration of bromine on the last slide. For bromine, what noble gas I am going to pick? Again, argon. And I am here and I have to reach here. So this is the way to come. So this is my fourth row, 4s2. Now I am entering D. For D, you put one less row number. And how many are there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 3D10. And then you're going back into P. And remember, when you're going back into P, the P will not have the different row number. P will have the same one. 4P. And it is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 4P5. It is 4P5. Looking at the periodic table, if the electronic configuration is given to you, you should be able to write down the element. For example, you all you have to do is just to look at the outermost. 3p4. 3 means you are in the third row. This is 1, 2, 3, third row. These are the P, and we want the fourth one. 1, 2, 3, 4. What is that? Sulfur. So all you have to do is to write down. What is the outermost? 5s1. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. S. These are the S1. So the first one. Rubidium. 5p3. Fifth row. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Fifth row. And in the fifth row, these here, these are the P block. And we need 5p3, 1, 2, 3. What will be that? Antimony. 5d6. Now this 5d6 is interesting because keep in mind that for D, we put one less row number. So if it is 5d6, then we are in the sixth row. So we are in the sixth row. That means 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's my sixth row. I'm in the D and the sixth one, and according to this periodic table. It will be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Class, there are some anomalies between a few periodic tables. So for these two examples, I would prefer to use a different periodic table, and I am going to use the one that is given in your book, your book follows, and your book is slightly different in this part. So for that, I will let you know which video you need to watch to understand that. Now, one thing that I do want, because the answer for this is osmium. One thing I do want you to tell, that if you look at the next one, it is 5F. When we are in the F block, then these are the last two inner transition elements. These are known as F block elements. So, and so 5F11. So here, this is basically this, your first row is 4F row and the second one is 5F row, and you need the 11th one. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. And again, there are some anomalies between a few periodic tables, but only on a few places. I am going to follow the periodic table that is given in your book, and in your book the periodic table that's given, ES, that's the one on the 11th position. And again, we can go back and do more examples based on that. The last slide. Remember, we said we fill the electrons, and in different energy levels are further divided into sublevels, and sublevels are divided into orbitals. If you have 1s sublevel, that is made up of only one orbital. So we are drawing only one box, but when we draw the box to represent the orbital, an orbital can have 2 electrons. So very important thing is that when you are putting the electrons, you are following these two principles. The first is the Pauli's exclusion principle, that an orbital can have maximum 2 electrons, but then the electrons must have the opposite spin. Electrons behave slightly like magnets. Magnets have spins. So for example, nitrogen atomic number is 7. So if you write down the electronic configuration, it is going to be 1s2, 2s2, 2p3. So when I'm putting these 2 electrons in 1s, I'm putting one pointing up, one down. So let me show you. I'm drawing arrows like this. Then 2s2, one pointing up, one pointing down. This is called Pauli's exclusion principle. Then comes the next one, Hund's rule of maximum multiplicity. What that means, this tells you how the electrons should be placed into degenerate orbitals. Degenerate means the orbitals with the same energy. For example, our 2p sublevel is divided into 3 orbitals, and the name is 2p. These 3 are degenerate, means they have equal energy. So when you are putting the electrons into these orbitals, these ones, 2p made up of 3, then you first fill them singly, followed by the pairing. So for example, 2p3, so the one electron, first you fill here, you're not going to start pairing up unless you are done putting one single electron in each orbital. This is very important, because if, let's say, you're going to end up putting it like this, 2 here, 1 here, then that is completely wrong. So that is the Hund's rule. So 2 more examples. So let's say oxygen. Oxygen atomic number is 8. Its electronic configuration is 1s2, 2s2, 2p4. So 2 electrons in 1s. We have to follow Pauli's exclusion principle, opposite spin. If you will write down like this, that is wrong. So here 2s2, Now 2p4. So 1, 2, 3, and now start pairing up, but then put the opposite spin. The last one is nickel. Nickel is a transition element. It's a d block element, and if you will look in the periodic table, nickel's atomic number is 28, and if you're going to write down the electronic configuration of that, it will be 1s2, 2s2, 2p6, 3s2, 3p6, 4s2, 3d8. That will make it total 28. So 1s2 opposite spins, 2p6, 3s2, 3p6, 4s2, 3d8 means 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.